You are watching Notepad. I'm your host, Ibrahim Sani. Very, very serious numbers have been announced very recently, including the number of new cases being stubbornly at above 800. Very, very recently, we've had this whole new set of clusters coming in at COVID-19, particularly not just in Sabah, but of course in the Klang Valley area. I just pulled up the KKM Twitter feed. Of course, everybody has this now. We're looking at Petaling, over 50 cases, Kuala Langat, 5 cases, new cases. We're looking at Klang at over 20, 30 cases. What I'm trying to say is that this is not going away. We have passed that tipping point, and we're looking at Malaysia being overrun by new cases. Now, no matter what we say and do, this new MCO round is not going to be able to solve all these cases overnight, and in fact it might not be even solving cases right now. So how will businesses survive? And we know now that the budget is going to be introduced on November 6th. We know now that there's going to be a lot of trouble when it comes to the mom and pop shop. So how do we look forward towards how to digitize businesses and how we can bring local businesses to be a little bit more participative in a very restrictive kind of economy? And that's why we need to look at how digitalization can aid local businesses through the current MCO. One company that is currently helping local businesses is, of course, Revenue Monster. Revenue Monster is trying to help businesses digitize and bring forward digitalization solutions with over 5,000 merchants right now across Malaysia, and has just launched its new digital ordering and delivery solution. This is something that they call a la carte. Unlike any other player right now in the market, the service fee or the service charge of over 15% of services fee for every order is going to be reduced if you take up Revenue Monster. So is this too good to offer for local businesses? We're joined by the CEO of Revenue Monster, trying to look at how they truly want to support local businesses, at the same time how they, i.e. Revenue Monsters themselves, can actually survive in this kind of zero subscription fees, zero handling or zero services fees. We hope that in this conversation we will allow for businesses or struggling businesses to make ends meet through these tough times and to keep a larger share of their profits all to themselves, perhaps how they can use these kind of extra cash to continue on with surviving in these trying times. Amanda Chin, CEO of Revenue Monster, joins us. Amanda, let's talk a little bit about how the SME landscape in Malaysia and how the pandemic has been affected by it. Could you share your thoughts, please?
So perhaps before I go into your question, well, first and foremost, thank you very much for having me on your show. Essentially, Revenue Monster is a Malaysian fintech company whereby our mission is to fast-track business digitalization for SMEs, right? With our all-in-one platform for businesses to subscribe to, consisting of payment solutions, both offline and online, essentially our core business, to a new feature called e-invoice payment link, whereby merchants and SMEs can subscribe to and collect payments remotely, with a consolidated payment of e-wallets, by far one of the largest payment network of e-wallets, as well as credit card and debit cards. Of course, everyone is looking into recurring customers as well. So SMEs can also subscribe to our loyalty and voucher platform, whereby they can curate their own loyalty and voucher systems, right, via a Revenue Monster platform. And of course, during this time as well, I think it's all about amplifying our brand online. This platform also allows us to connect, at the moment, Facebook Messenger as well as WeChat, but of course we are expanding this ecosystem. Now, as you have rightfully mentioned as well, we have also just conceptualized this product, a homegrown product called a la carte, which essentially is a digital store that aims for businesses to actually create and onboard themselves online with their products and services, right? Automatically accept all modes of payments online, as well as integrating and having access to various modes of delivery partners nationwide. Now, of course, this is available for all merchants and SMEs in Malaysia. Now, back to your question, Ibrahim. Now, the SME landscape, perhaps let's start off with statistics, right? The stats ain't looking that great, as you know. But if you look at SMEs and, how important it is, right, majority of the businesses in Malaysia are SMEs, with about 98.5% in Malaysia, and 1 million SMEs collectively contributing to about 40% of the GDP. However, as you know, the COVID-19 pandemic with the MCO previously and now the CMCO has really impacted a lot of these SMEs, whereby a lot of these income sources were impacted, right, because they no longer can do business offline or in-store. In fact, stats tells us that about 4,500 SMEs has been closed down since the first wave of the pandemic. And in fact, some local retail group in Malaysia as well is expecting about 50,000 retailers to close down by early next year. Again, as you have also introduced some of the stats at the beginning, I think today we're really looking at about a 3-digit, and we're not sure really what's happening, with the third wave hitting the country, as well as the rising cases and clusters in the other states, right? I think for businesses that are solely dependent and substantially dependent on sales generating from their brick and mortar store have really felt the brunt of it, right? However, those who have managed to adapt to a more digital approach were, of course, less impacted, right? Because they didn't put all their eggs in one basket. In fact, I have spoken to some of the F&B retailers in Klang Valley itself during the CMCO, right? Even though the dine-in was part of the SOP, right? They have actually opted out entirely for the dine-in, right? Because it does not make business sense to operate offline in full capacity.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about the digitization of business acceleration during the pandemic. We all know that eventually businesses have to businesses have to digitize themselves. How do we accelerate that process a little bit faster? What are the challenges that you think businesses are faced and are still facing right now in their journey towards digitalizing their business?
I think the pandemic has had really a substantial negative impact for this country, whether you were a large conglomerate or an SME. But of course, if there was one good thing that came out from it, is really the acceleration of businesses. Of course, if you see prior to the pandemic, there was this, perceived hesitation. Whether is it because of the lack of necessity or essential, right? If you see many of the family-run businesses still dependent on sales from their neighborhood residents, right? So I think there is almost, there's no need or no necessity, or purely just the digital landscape, right? It was almost quite difficult to understand, or maybe a lack of awareness as well. Because it's unfortunately, pre-COVID times as well, right? A lot of industry players were throwing jargons like, it's really hard to understand, like IoT, big data, right? What it is, right? And how does it benefit you as a business? Or even simply the urgency. Again, thanks to COVID, unfortunately, there was this almost attitude, a nonchalant attitude towards digitalization, right? Majority of the digital initiatives were executed either a POC level, a proof of concept, or it was done on a very experimental basis, whereby it was purely executed on a very departmental basis. That means there was no real top-down approach or a strategic effort to make those changes, right? But of course, businesses that have previously did not see the benefit now, or previously, it's actually proactively, understanding how to go digital. Again, personally at Revenue Monster, as our DNA has always been digital first, our mission is to actually help fast-track their digital process in a very fast, affordable, and easy manner, right? In fact, we saw a rise of businesses needing various services, right? In the post-COVID world or in the current COVID world right now, everyone is looking for contactless solutions. right? This is where we come in, both online and offline. How do I fast track, our online presence? How do we sell it online? How do we connect with delivery partners seamlessly? Or potentially, having their own online loyalty platform or e-voucher, right, that I can sell to on an ecosystem basis. And of course, last but not least, is the whole social media amplification. We also have another side of the business, which is a more consulting basis, right? And because of our technology know-how, we also saw a rise in demand to consult for a larger brands, right, to build their digital strategy in this post-COVID world, right, taking advantage of data and automation.
Right, Amanda, we'll take a short break before we continue our conversation on how to digitize business quickly in the CMCO age. Don't go anywhere. Thanks for staying on with us. I have with me on the line Amanda Chin, the CEO of Revenue Monster. We're talking about how businesses can quickly accelerate on digitizing their businesses. Of course, the numbers, as Amanda rightfully pointed out, aren't too good when it comes to the outlook of the industry. We've seen how the Bank Negara has actually compressed the growth of the country from anywhere between negative 5.5% to negative 3.5%. And on top of that, to layer that even worse, the numbers of active cases is rising. The number of people currently intubated and also in ICU is also quite high. We're looking at over 100 people in ICU and more than a third of them on ventilation. Of course, public healthcare is a big deal that we need to talk about, but right now we also have to talk about the economy because you can't solve one over the other. And of course, Amanda, thanks again for taking the time to speak with us. We really need to talk about the industry outlook in the next few months. How do you think this will play in the months to come, particularly now that we are entering budget season?
So I think at the moment right now, it's almost a time to really pivot. I think the outlook, as you rightfully mentioned, it's not great. So I think it's about time for us, to champion SMEs to actually thrive, right? But unfortunately, I think with the whole digitalization, right, a lot of times businesses don't know where to start, right? Especially for the mom and pop or the smaller guys or the medium SMEs. Right. I think if you throw them a question of, go digital, okay, great, right? But they will throw back the question of, right, so which aspects of my business can go digital, right? Or can I do a hybrid model potentially, right? And do an offline to online model, or potentially, what is the cost to my business, right? And so I think a lot of times we need to really understand in that potentially what are these challenges. Now, of course, this is where we play a role. Us at Revenue Monster, we understand how daunting this is. And the key here is, we feel the trick here is to drive a real ecosystem of digital, right? Not just one aspect of the business, which is why we have, on our platform, introduced these various amounts of aspects and tools for businesses to adopt, whether is it for contactless payments, or whether is it for having a social media platform, right, that I can also integrate with that single platform, or more importantly, how do I gain my customers back, right? Ultimately, I think that is the biggest hurdle, is to actually provide a digital process for them to thrive in a very digestible manner. And of course, more importantly as well, SME owners need not to really own a large team of tech guys, right? They just need to subscribe to this and then leave the tech know-how with us.
Do you think that we need more public and private support in order for you to safeguard this major economic driver and making sure that the kind of rollout period that you guys are doing with the SMEs are sustainable? Also, ensuring that there's no hiccups come what may in the months or even years to come, to be frank, what kind of public and private support do you envision that needs to be happening right now in order for the mom and pop shop being able to be supported, to be digitized into, and managing this kind of pandemic?
I think everyone has a role to play, whether it's the private sector or the public sector, in ensuring we really safeguard this segment, who is really the main contributor of the economy. But essentially, I think there are 4 key aspects. The first and foremost is really the awareness building. I think SMEs need to better understand the importance and the power of digitalization with data. Again, the industries and the communities, media alike like yourself, are currently, at the forefront of raising awareness to SMEs. And definitely, really more can be done, right, for the smaller market segment, like your hawkers or your micro businesses, where I think government support is required and can be very useful. Again, I think these are the segments that are actually ripe for digitalization. And unfortunately, they are also quite fragmented as well, which is why I think a private and public partnership is quite good to actually reach out to them. So hence, I think government bodies and agencies can support by providing information potentially, right, to rural businesses to deliver a more, I would say, more impactful campaign and communication and education, not just solely focused on Klang Valley itself, but nationwide.
Amanda,
now,
let's talk.
Sure.
Yeah, let's talk a little bit more about Revenue Monster per se. Because there are so many players right now that can assist in terms of payment, particularly the big guys, and we're talking about the banks with QR payment, we're talking about Grab that can come with plenty of kind of solutioning in terms of wallet or mobile wallet. How are you going to overcome these kind of competition in the market?
I think you are absolutely right in terms of having a lot of players in the market. Essentially, I think the power with Revenue Monster is an ecosystem driver. And as you rightfully mentioned, just take, for instance, a contactless payment solution, right? At the end of the day, you've got so many e-wallets out there. But where we come in is we come in at a more unified approach and driving the entire ecosystem. So you don't need to just enable 1 or 2 e-wallets. You can enable all 15 e-wallets, which we enable, right? So I think on that front, I think it also requires a more added value approach to not just having one aspect of service, but an entire ecosystem, right, to adopt digital, right? So an SME no need to just subscribe to one service for contactless payments and then another service for online store. You can just come onto one Revenue Monster platform and have it all integrated in one onboarding platform as well. So I think on that front, I think it's a lot easier and a lot digestible for SMEs to adopt digital.
Let's talk a little bit more as well about the impact that you want to bring about in this year for the SMEs as well as for your company, Revenue Monster. It's not easy starting a business at an economic downturn. Are you guys brave enough to go through these kind of challenging times, particularly when other businesses are quite frankly rolling down the shutters?
I think we are at the right time, the right industry. And really, I think there can be no better time, unfortunately and fortunately as well. We are very much a digital company. That's where our DNA is, and that's where our tech know-how is. In fact, we are the only Malaysian fintech partner for Alibaba Cloud Solution, for example, right? So again, we've got the tech know-how, and I think because of those ability to develop products and services on the fly, right, which we have done so for a la carte platform as well. I think we will thrive in this, and I think because we have the abilities to develop this product, we feel that we need to really serve the SMEs better, which is why I think at this juncture, for a la carte, for example, we know there is a need for SMEs to actually go digital. on the fly without needing to subscribe to one platform for contactless payments, subscribe to another delivery partner for, to have their goods and services delivered, right? It's all just one single platform. You list your products and services, right? You have access to all modes of payments online. Subsequently, you also have an additional revenue stream, right? Which you no longer, you previously did not have the access. Now, with the online platform as well, you are able to sell your products and services online without the need to actually part some of these revenues, right? Again, there's zero subscription fee for merchants at this juncture. There's no service fee. It's all literally complimentary.
All right. Thank you, Amanda. That was Amanda Chin, the CEO of Revenue Monster. Again, all the best for your business and as well as your noble effort on helping other businesses as well. We'll take one more short break before we continue our show for this evening.